Hi, this is Susan Snyder with the Pottery House Studio for the Majolica demonstration, and I am checking to see if you are able to see the video that I just posted on Clay Buddy's Facebook. It should be there now, but let me know if you can let me know if that's the case. That would be great. So if you go to the Clay Buddies website, there should be a part with videos, and you'll notice I'm there on the left, and then like 3 in, there's the actual video. Hi, Bryce. So if you could watch the video that's in the video section of Clay Buddies, what I'm going to do is answer any questions that you have after seeing the video. And the only reason why I'm asking this is because I've been having some technical difficulties with the internet crashing, and so it's been freezing up. So I thought it might be best if you could just see everything all together. And if you don't mind, just texting me right now if you're able to see the video so I know that you can watch it. And then we can meet back up here in like 45 minutes and I can answer questions that you have. So if that's okay in the response, once you're able to find the video, just let me know. It's in the video section. I have to say it's wonderful seeing people from all over, and well, since I have you, it is visible. Oh, great, Nadine. Thanks for letting me know. So, and were you able to see on the Facebook page for Clay Buddies that my live stream is actually a video? Because then I can like turn this off just in case it does crash, and you can watch the video instead. I guess it takes about 30 seconds for it to go through. While you're all here, this is the Pottery House Studio in Bloomington, Indiana. And here is a sample of my work. I see it's visible, but this is a space that I work in, and it's also a teaching studio. And so I give quite a few classes here, and there are a lot of wonderful students that come through, and I miss them all very much right now. I hope that everyone is doing well. Like I mentioned earlier, I do have a video that's on Clay Buddies that I was going to use mainly as a backup, but since this seems to be working, I'll go ahead and give it a go. And if for some reason you're not able to, it freezes up or you miss it, then you can always go to the Clay Buddies video and see that as well. So this isn't as nice as the video that I put together earlier this morning, but I can show you some of the basics, and then anything that I leave out, you know, I can answer, and you can go back and watch it, and hopefully the questions will be answered. So, and I'll put this in a stable spot so it's not so weird. So just a brief background, I've been doing pottery for over 20 years. I trained in Faenza, Italy. I went to a school that was 1,100 hours of ceramic training, and did everything from throwing on the wheel to apprenticing a master potter. And it wasn't just on traditional design, but the traditional design is what really interests me, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video was to be able to share with you what I learned. I hope to be able to take Americans back over to Faenza again to study, because it's such a wonderful city. It was a great experience, and hopefully things will change and that can be possible. So I showed you a quick picture of my work. You can see the colors. This is a geometric design that I did. This is my earlier work that I used to do. I've kind of gone a little bit off-centered, which is a perfect reflection of me, probably in this moment. If you want to see my work, you can visit my website, Susanna Italiana Pottery, and there are some samples there. Also, the studio that I'm in right now is called the Pottery House Studio, and that's in Bloomington. I mentioned earlier there's a video that's posted on Clay Buddies that shows all the different steps, but I'm just going to go over a little bit of it right now. So right here, you can see I've got it set up. What I use is Amico's LG11 Opaque White, and I used to always mix my glazes from scratch, but I had a lot of, well, not a lot. I had a few technical issues, but even like losing one piece, right, is really expensive. I'm showing you my mixer that I use if I'm going to dip a piece. So that mixer is a drill, heavy-duty drill with a Jiffy mixer on the end, and I would mix the glaze, sieve it in here. See, I've got my spatula. To make sure it's the right consistency, I use this to make sure that it's flowing. It takes about 20 seconds. And then I pour it into a container like this. This is what I do if I'm dipping. So when I was making my own glaze, I was doing a lot of dipping. But I also like to use the dipping glaze that Amico has, a DW11. So if I was going to dip a piece, let me show you how I would do that one-handed. I take the plate, I hold it in like this, and then I come out. So I go in for 3 seconds. Now I'm looking at the live feed. It looks like it might have frozen up. So if you're out there watching, can you text me and let me know if the video is frozen or not? That would be great. Let me go to Clay Buddies. Not frozen, working. Okay, great. All right, so if you're not dipping, then I would brush on my glaze 3 coats, and that makes a nice smooth surface. You don't want to have any bumps, because if you have any bumps, then if you go to paint a straight line on it, that line is not going to be straight. That line is going to melt, and it's not going to be, it's just going to look wavy, like you have a shaky hand. So once, oh, Chris, yeah, miss you too. So anyways, once you get the glaze on, then you're ready to do the design. I like to use, you'll see there's all of these little pieces of paper here that are templates. These templates, you can see I do a lot of unusual things, like the poodles, right? So someone sent me a picture of their poodles. They wanted to have a plate with the poodles in the middle. And what I did is I just traced the picture of the poodles. And then what you do when you're making a template, so you trace it onto tracing paper. This is a family crest that I am doing. So I would take this, put the tracing paper on it, trace the design with my pen. So you just go, oops, can't see, over the lines. Like that. And when you're done, it's like magic, right? Here is the new pattern. Then what I do is I take it over here, and great scissors, yeah, scissors are great. And then I flip it upside down, and I am going to poke holes, and maybe you can see all these little holes that are in here. They're very close together. Once you get those holes poked in, then you can use that to transfer on your design. So this design, the one that I showed you, that will look like this, but just in blues, hi Emily, is going to go in the center of this platter. This is upside down. And this has already been transferred on, but this will go there. And then this is a cool technique. What I do is I'm going to take a pounce that I have made. So this is just cotton cloth. It has burnt newspaper in it that I placed on the inside. And over here, this is what I burnt some fresh newspaper yesterday. You can see it's full of burnt newspaper. You just take that, crumble it up, and put it inside the cotton cloth, and that allows you to transfer on the design. Oops, okay. So if you're doing something that's not on a white background, but you have something that's dark, then you could use like talc powder instead, so it will show up. The idea is you want it to show up. Burnt newspaper will burn away once it's fired, just like pencil on top of the glaze will burn away too. So you can map out your design so you know it's going to show up, and not worry about that pencil being there. So if you don't follow the lines, it's okay. So going back here, I'm going to show you the tile that I've got, and I'm using my brush, and I'm painting on 3 coats. I already have a couple, but you want to go first in one direction, then you want to go in the opposite direction, and then maybe go at a diagonal to get the best coverage. It's that's really good if you're using a brush on glaze and it's like a color, even more so that way. But just in general with the Majolica, you want to get it on well. Like I said, I'm using Amico Versa clay. Sometimes I do get bisque in that I've ordered, just because the majority of my work has a lot to do with the design element and time. But I do also make my own forms. What I do is I bisque fire it to cone 04, and the glaze is bisque fired to cone 05. And so by bisquing it hotter, there's less of a risk of pinholes. Now, I showed you a little bit about the glazing. If you dip your pieces at home and you notice that you do have pinholes, then what you want to do, and a pinhole is just like a little dot. I don't have a sample to show you. Miss you, Abby, too, is to take a knife, open up that hole, dab a little bit of the glaze there, and then smooth it, and that will give you a nice even surface to work on. So let's go over here, and I'm going to show you how to do a tile design. Because I did my demo earlier and filmed it, so there's a video that's available, which is a lot nicer than the live stream. But I'm just going to go ahead and do this in case, since it is working, and then maybe you can watch the other one afterwards and I can get it uploaded like it should be. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this beginning of the tile. You can see here, hi Diane, hi Sandy, hi Debbie. You can see this snail tile right here, and I'm going to show you how I would go about getting it started. I've really enjoyed watching a lot of the videos that have been out there that you've done, and I've seen a couple of the Majolica ones as well, like Karen's, and a lot of people use banding wheels. Okay, so I'm going to show you the setup that I have, and I think it's really important to make sure, in order to do steady lines, you need to make sure that you are resting your arm on a table so that you have extra support, and that the banding wheel is not too high up. You want it to be lower than what your arm is. Also, for a lot of you, I'm probably saying things that you already know, but I'm just going to cover this for all levels. And even if you do know these things, I'm sure that there's something from it that you can pick up as well. Those templates are fabulous, you know, even if you're doing just like a simple design, because you can use it over and over again. I forgot to mention, but you can see here, there's some like really detailed ones. This is the sample gates at IU. Like if I were to sit down and draw that, that would take a lot of time. And, you know, and also what I didn't mention is that I'm not that great at drawing freehand. My drawing skills are not very good. But with the template, transferring that design on, it kind of looks like I might know what I'm doing, which is an enjoyable feeling. Okay, so I'm going to hook up my phone and show you decorating. Now, I can't really see if this is, I see all of your comments, but I can't see if you can see the banding wheel. You can't because it's up too high. So, but maybe you can see me lower this. No, you can't because I need to turn the camera around. Okay, so this is my banding wheel. And I'll just hold it up. You can see there's this little knob here that allows me to tighten it. It's a Flora banding wheel. This is what they use in Italy. Not a lot of places make these anymore. I'm going to lower this so that my arm can rest here. Please give Clem a big hug, Emily. I miss her too. So I'm going to take the square tile and put it on here. I've got these circles that are on the banding wheel so I can use them to line up the tile. First thing I'm going to do is do the outline. Now someone might say, oh, what kind of pencil do you recommend using? I recommend using a 3B, a softer lead, because you're less likely to carve into the glaze. But I'm using a Dr. Seuss pencil, One Fish, Two Fish, because it's handy. All right, so I'm going to do the outline. And so for a square, you can see I'm holding my pencil. I'm going to drag it along the outside of the rim like this. You can see where it was a little bit wet, where it's still drying. It went in just a tiny bit more. And it's just moving that right along. So if you're doing an oval and you want to have an even rim, an oval platter, you would do the same thing. When I did my practice round, I was showing on a spoon rest here. You can kind of see the lines, but you get the idea, right? I'm going to put it here and just drag it along like this. And so this is bisque from Amico Versa. That was bisque fire to cone 04, and I glaze fire to cone 05. So I'm glazing. It's a little cooler than what the bisque fire was. And if you are just doing like a Majolica firing, if you want to do a 15-minute soak at the end, that is also a nice touch too, but it's not necessary. Okay, so you just like grab that along the end. All right, got the lines on the tile. This is the tile, the start of the tile that I'm going to show you, that I'm going to start right now. There's a snail in the middle, which I think is so appropriate right now with how my life feels. I feel like things have really slowed down a lot, and I miss everything that was going on before. It was more of a fast pace, but yeah. Anyways, won't go any farther. So I got my banding wheel here, and I'm going to also rest it on, if you have a brick, you can do that so that it's at a little bit of an angle. If you don't have a wheel like this, you can put it on top of a bucket, some boxes, and you can get it to go, also make it go a little bit at an angle. It's a little bit easier to work at that angle. Okay, so once you have this centered, then with my hand underneath, you probably can't tell, but I am right-handed, not left-handed. My left hand is under here, and I'm going to spin it counterclockwise, and you want to spin fast. Now, it's just a tiny, oops, I don't think it's off. You might have seen it kind of moved a little bit. Yeah, that was my hand that moved. All right, so that's how you do the pencil, and it's nice to have pencil lines on your piece. You can use them as a reference. So I'm going to do a line here. I'm going to go in. I'm going to make a little circle right there. And also I'm going to do some little hoop-de-doo border designs here. So I'm putting this as a reference. Like I mentioned earlier, the pencil is going to burn out, so you don't have to worry about it, but you want to be careful not to carve through the glaze, because if you do, that's going to make it's going to be dry, and you're not going to be able, the color's not going to go there, so you have to be a little bit more careful to get it in. Now, what do I do if the glaze is on too thin? If I didn't get enough on, then after it's fired, I just paint clear glaze over it and fire it again. I heat up the pot. I either put it on the cone. If you're at home, you can put it in the oven. You can put it outside in the sun. If you can warm the piece up before you reglaze it, it is going to go on better. Also, I mean, not that this is really an issue with what I'm doing, but if your piece has a bump or something on it and an imperfection, you can Dremel that off. You can sand it off and then either add the color that you want or put the glaze on top of, or put a clear glaze on top of it. That works really well too. So the design is here. Now, just a moment while I get the snail. For those of you who just joined in, this is what I'm doing, a snail tile. Also, as I mentioned earlier, there is a video that you can watch that I meant to stream, but as you might have noticed, I'm not the most technically savvy, but at some point I'll post that on Clay Buddies. That might be better than this. But here's the snail that I'm going to put on. It's got holes that were poked into it while it was upside down on a sponge. You can poke the holes in on an upholstery sponge or on bubble wrap. I'm going to put the snail in the center of the piece. This is my special pounce that I made, cotton cloth with burnt newspaper on the inside. I'm going over the snail design like this. I'm going to make sure all that dust goes away. And you can see there's all these little dots. So now is the moment where you connect the dots. Miss you too, Leonie. Miss everybody. All right. I'm taking my brush and I'm rolling it on this tile. It's the chocolate brown is what I'm using. The traditional colors, and a lot of my work is based on traditional design that you see in Italy in the 1500s, 1400s, is a brown that came from manganese dioxide, so it could be a dark brown or have a little bit of a purple tint to it, yellow, burnt orange, copper green, dark blue from cobalt. The green came from copper, like copper carbonate. And when I was there studying, you'd paint it on, it would be black, but when it fires, it's green. The cobalt is lavender, fires dark blue. I like using these colors, the underglazes, and because what you see is closer to what you get, and they work out well. And you might say, wait a minute, it's an underglaze and you're putting it over a glaze, but it works. The underglazes work on top of the Majolica glaze base, and you could do this technique on, you know, any glaze that's going to stay where you want it. If you fire your piece and your piece is dry, then you would want to put a clear glaze on. There might be an issue there. But as long as you put a clear glaze on and it seals it, then it would be food safe and you can use it that way. Oh, thanks for sharing, Stacy. So the brush, let me go over the brush. I've got lots of brushes here behind me. These are brushes that I got in Italy, and you can see that they're cut to a tip. I'm using Amico Velvet underglazes. I used to mix stains with Gersley Borate. That also worked, but I like how the underglazes work. And Amico used to have a Majolica glass glaze, which was fabulous. But in a way, it's kind of similar to the velvets. And the velvets you can use on clay to do sgraffito, which is great. I enjoy doing sgraffito too. I'm going to get this wet so you can see more of the tip. It's cut to a tip. If you want to try this at home with a brush that you have, then when it's dry, you want to wash it first, get out any glue that might be in there, and then with special scissors. So if you've got mustache scissors or delicate fingernail scissors, you can just trim, cut, and slowly turn, and so that you're creating this point. And the idea behind it is that this part of the brush is going to hold the color so that it comes out to the tip. And when I go to do my lines, you're going to notice that, hey Sue Snyder, you're going to notice that the glaze just like flows, and you can do banding. You can do your banding lines for quite a while. You can get, you can hold it, leave it on the brush and not have to keep on reloading, which is really good, especially if you're doing a larger piece. This is Amico's Opaque White LG11. That's the base coat that I have on here with the velvets on top. Here. I'll go like there. Then you can see the glaze, so you know what I'm using. Wait, or can you see it? There. All right. But I need this. So I got the color on the brush. I'm holding it. It's dripping a little bit. I'm going to have a paper towel back here. I don't know if you can see it. I'm getting a little bit of that glaze off, so it's just not going to go everywhere. Hello, Las Vegas. So here we go. I am going to spin with my hand underneath on the banding wheel counterclockwise. You don't want to go too slow. It's going to take forever, and your hand is most likely to move. You want to make sure that you're resting your elbow so that your elbow is higher than the piece that you're painting. That's the piece that I'm painting. It hasn't been fired yet. That's why it's not shiny and it's not finished. All right. So I'm doing this line. Now I forgot an important step. And the step that I forgot is, in order to do those peacock feathers that you see right there, I'm going to use this circle protractor to divide the tile into 12 parts, 360 degrees, so each one is 30 degrees apart. So I'm going to place this on here. If you don't have a banding wheel at home, you could take different size plastic lids and trace around them on your piece. Be really careful if you're using your potter's wheel, because if you hit it too fast, it could go flying off. That's the base glaze over there. There. Okay. It's all in the video that I posted that I'm meant to be showing right now, but it looks like the internet is in my favor, so I'm glad that it's still streaming. All right, pencil. I'm going to, you can see this okay? I'm taking it. And if anyone wants to answer questions, if you know the answer to a question and you see a question pop up, feel free to answer it too in the thread. So 30, 60, 90, you get the picture all the way around. There is some math involved with the Majolica. I've got that design on. Now I have a circle in the middle. Let me redo this circle so I can see it a little bit better. And I'm going to line up with the center and just take it out, right? This is off a little bit. What happened? All right. There's an extra line here that doesn't make any sense. So let's do this. 90. It should be right here. Wait. Okay, 0. Sometimes this will slide around, and if you don't have it lined up perfectly, then it will be off. So this is good. It's good that I'm showing you what to do if you make a mistake, right? Pencil, don't have to worry about it showing up. Just make sure you know which line to follow. So at some point, this was a little bit off, but now it's better. I'm just going to do the line over here. That makes more sense. Then I know what are the correct lines. All right, 30, 0. Great. All right. So I like to do I find it's helpful to do the line when I've got it right in front of me. So it's like, if I try like just going around like this freehand, it always gets a little bit off and it's kind of hard to see what is going on. I'm using a regular pencil, but a 3B pencil is nice because it does have a softer lead. I'm loading up my brush, and I'm going to do these circles in here. If I'm painting a larger piece, I like to start with the center and work my way out. That way there's less of a risk of dripping any color on the outer edge of the piece. Always check your brush before you take it to what you're painting to make sure that you don't end up with a big glob on it. You can dab it on paper or sponge. Now I'm going to paint this snail that's here. This snail that I'm painting is based on a tile that is in San Petronio Church in Bologna, Italy, in the Vesely Chapel that you can visit it. It's a chapel that's full of tiles, and they were documented in a book that's no longer in print, but there's hundreds of different animals and geometric designs. And I lived in Bologna for a while. My husband is from Bologna, so I feel a special connection to that city. So I like taking these designs that are in this worn down chapel that some of those tiles are disappearing. So by painting them, I feel like I'm also keeping them alive. And I also really enjoy and appreciate this opportunity to show you how to do Majolica in the Italian style to also keep that tradition alive. And my training was very precise. There was a correct way to do each thing that we were taught. And in learning that, to me, it makes sense. What I learned is a really good way of doing things. You might have your own method. This is just a tradition that's, handed down from potter to potter. So I enjoy being able to do the same with you. And maybe you can work it into the kind of work that you like to do. So I've got this outline going of my snail. The brush is a little bit dry. These the bottles of glaze that I have been sitting out and they're dry. And you might think, oh no, they're ruined. All you have to do is squirt them with water and that will bring them back. And as you might be noticing, a little a little bit of the underglaze goes a long, long ways on the piece. So, you know, you can keep them for a really long time. It's very cost effective to do Majolica. And the part that I love the most is that if you make a mistake, you can fix it. So I'm going to try and make a mistake here really soon. An intentional mistake, we'll see. So I can show you how to fix it, because, you know, otherwise, what's the point? You could just be doing this on top of bisque. I'm painting it on top of a white glaze. Okay, so here, this little snail part is a little bit weird. So I'm just going to scratch it off. I'm using a small pocket knife. You can use a sgraffito tool. I forgot to mention, see the thickness of this blade? It's about 1 millimeter. So when you're applying glaze, that is the ideal thickness that you want it to be. If you don't have this, you can use a paring knife, sgraffito tool. The idea is that you scrape it off. If you scrape off too much glaze, you just add some more. Make sure though that you make it even, right? You don't want to have any bumps. So there we go. I'm going to do some grass lines. I'm going to wait to paint an eye on my snail because I'm going to fill it in first, and then I'll do that. Here is a brush for filling in, so I loaded it up. I'm putting it on my tile. I always go to the tile. You can mix your colors to make what, I'm just using a glazed tile to mix my colors on. Works out great. It has been fired, and whenever you're filling anything in, you want to follow the outline. So I'm following the outline of the snail. You're going to want that to dry before you put the eye on. If it's wet, the color will just go a little bit everywhere. Okay, now, like I mentioned earlier, this is the pavone design, peacock feather from the 1400s. And the way that I paint any design on is that I break it into parts. So I'm going to start like this. And I'm just doing the outer edge. So I'm taking it, pulling it around. I'm holding my hand, I'm holding my right hand with my left hand. Trying to keep the curve. So I do this all the way around on one side. Once I have, anytime you can break a design into parts, then it's going to be easier to paint. I think your lines are going to be more consistent. I'm just using the tip of the brush. The brush is holding the color. If you notice that you're not really getting good lines, you can always go back. You can scrape it off with your pocket knife. So, you know, this is how I would do a flower, a sun. This pattern here looks really nice on the outer edge of a plate as well. I'm not going to paint the whole thing. You can see where we're going with this. These little hatch marks are fun. Just give it a little bit of a turn. If you wanted to, you could just fill it in with a solid color. It's a little bit on the thick side, so now I'm going to look carefully at my brush and with a lighter hand, that's going to make it look a little bit better. And you might say, oh, it's so dark in there. That's from the burnt newspaper. That is from transferring the design on, and that will all burn out. Just like all of these pencil marks, they will burn out when it's fired. So I would do that all the way around. From doing these triangles in the middle, I would do one side first, and then I would do the other side. If I was going to put little spirals here, I would start like this, and then over here I would go around like that. Don't try and do a spiral all in one go. It's really hard. Hi, Marilee. Oh, thanks, Tara. I'm glad you find this mesmerizing. Like Zen doodles in a way. It's like a mandala, these Majolica designs. You can just get lost in them, which is really nice and therapeutic. So I'm doing the spiral from the other angle like this. Some people who might be joining in might have been able to see the video. If you have seen the video and you're joining in for questions and answers, send me your questions and I'm happy to answer them as well. And I will probably post, I don't know if I'll post both of these, but hopefully that other video is going to show. These are just commercial velvet underglazes from Amico that I'm thinning out on a tile with water, and then before I go to touch the piece, I make sure that it's dry by dabbing it either on a paper towel or on a sponge. So here, these are colors that I've mixed. I've mixed a bright orange, a bright red to make a nice burnt orange for Peacock. My dark blue is a mixture of royal blue with a little bit of black. You can use mason stains. I mixed with Gersley borate. You could also use like a Frit 3124 if you wanted to. I have chosen to use a commercial glaze, the LG11, just because it always fires consistently and I don't have any issues. And when you put hours into a piece, a large piece, and you lose it for whatever reason, glaze popping off, pinholing, you could have spent the money on a glaze that works, whatever glaze of your choice, but I have found that helpful. So I've got this on here. When you're painting an outline, just as a rule of thumb, you want to follow the contour like this. And then do the other side. And because this peacock feather is rounded, right? I'm just going to go around. Like this to fill it in. I'm going to, now actually this design is normally done with other colors around that center. Do you see the yellow and the green? I'm going to turn iPhone sideways. I can't turn the phone, yeah, thanks for answering that, Stacy. I tried that earlier and that didn't work. There's the base glaze. LG11. Okay. So like here, I meant to add the green and yellow, so I would just go back with my knife, right? And erase. That's the beauty of the Majolica. Just scraping it off. Because you're painting on 1 millimeter thick or dipping it, then you are going to be able to scrape it off and still have enough glaze underneath. If for some reason you take off too much glaze or if the glaze is dry, you can put clear glaze on it, fire it again. Okay, so yellow and then green. Can you see that okay? So yellow goes here, and then green goes here, You can layer the colors, you can mix the colors. For the grass, I like to have it be a little bit, streaky. So I usually do like a dark color first, and then I'll do a lighter color. This is like an avocado that's been mixed with a little bit of hunter green. And I would just fill that in like that. If it's too dry, just get your brush wet and go over it. If it's blotchy, try and spread it out. Glazes really vary. If your glaze is really powdery, then you could spray it with liquids with a starch, and that will stiffen it up. When you brush a glaze on, rather than dipping it, it's going to be a little bit stiffer. So it makes it, you don't have to worry about the brush getting full of powder when you're painting. You could also take a spray bottle and spritz it, and that will make it wet, and the glaze will be a little bit more compact. Now that I've got this on, I would add a little dot for the eye. Another design is a rope design. This is really popular. Here's a sunflower that was painted on the inside, and you can see there's a rope pattern on here, and this is it's kind of a tricky design to do. So the way that I do it, you take your piece, if it's round, you're going to center it on the wheel like you would a plate or a bowl to trim. And so I'm spinning this counterclockwise with my hand underneath. You don't want to spin on the outside because it's going to make it be a little bit jittery. And then using my circle protractor, I'm going to, oh, I was on TV a while back. I was on, there's a show called That's Clever, and they came into my studio in 2006 and filmed. I don't know if that's what you were thinking of, but let's see, let me go this way. And I did a plate and wine top demonstration. Okay, so here I'm going to line this up with the center, and I'm going to do, and that was on HGTV, but I don't think you can still see that video. But thanks, Joellen, for noticing. Yeah, that show came out 3 days after we moved to Scotland for 3 years. Okay. All right, so I made these lines for the circles, and now I'm loading up my brush. Oh, thanks, Joellen. That's so sweet. And I think you emailed me too. I think you might have reached out to me. I can't remember your name. Here, so now I'm going to go, there's like a little hair on there. Let me get that off. So I'm going to do circles. And it's a little bit on the wet side, so I'm just going to dry my brush. So circles, I'm not trying to do a whole circle in one go. I'm just turning it around. I'm also holding my hand, that keeps it steady. All right, so I do my circles all the way around. I don't need that, so let's start over here just to give you the idea of how I got to that point. You start at the center of the circle and you go up. Wait, let's start over here. Okay, you start, if you're starting from the very go. You're going to go like this and go up. Then here you go like this, and you go up on the left side, all the way around. You do all of these. There's a mistake, so I'm just going to scrape that off. Nobody needs to know. My glazes are a little bit on the dry side, so that's why I'm getting them wet, just because I forgot to put the lids on. Oh, hi Karen. So you did see the video. Cool. So maybe some people were able to watch that video too. And I'm just kind of going over all the things that were in that other video. So see how I'm just taking this up on the left side, and you go all the way around. This would be like this. Bringing it up. And when you get there, then you would go back in the other direction. So this is a rope pattern. So I'm starting here, and I'm taking it down the circle to the left. Like that. And I would continue doing that. The palette is a glazed tile. Here is this piece further along. You would do like the shading here in the center first, and then you would do the brown lines on top. If you try to do the brown lines first, then it's just going to smudge all over the place. And you can also see how I've shaded the rope that goes around the outer edge. And let me take you over to, so I showed you the templates. Here is a sample of the rope that's done on a bowl. So if I was going to paint this, I would put it upside down on my banding wheel, and I would raise that so I can make it the height that I need it to be. Over here is a cool contraption. It's something that I learned in Italy when I was studying, and you'll see that this is just like a round table that you would get, like wooden table, the kind with those like stick legs, and then I put mini banding wheels on here that I can spin. These are wine tops that were made, and so what's cool about this is that it allows me to paint one color at a time on all of these pieces. Each one of these would be centered individually, and I would be able to do all of them at once. Over here is a sample of what some of my work looks like. And I guess I can't really rotate my phone. Also, I had some books I was going to, here, right over here in the studio. You can see here is a peacock feather design. So that is really, it is a cool, that table is a cool design. Here are some peacock feathers that were done that I was showing you earlier. This is a book from Faenza, Italy. It's actually called The Thesaurus. Hi, Hillary. It shows you a lot of designs throughout the history of Faenza. So this book just focuses on what you'd find in Faenza. This pattern is called Il Peduccio from the 1800s, which is the design that was over on that platter I showed you before. This is a book that's now out of print from the 70s that's based on, I think it's the 70s, on the Vasili Chapel in Bologna, Italy, in San Petronio Church, which is just off of the main square, Piazza Maggiore. And so it's full of all of these just absolutely gorgeous designs that I'm drawn to. This is the inspiration for the snail. So you can see it's in black and white, so I took a little bit of liberty in deciding what colors to use. And let's see. Yeah, I guess that's the timing. It's almost 2 o'clock. I don't know if you have any questions. Okay, so here's a question. Clear glaze. I use the Amico LG, LG 10, the pink one. I use that to put on pieces. It's, LG 10. Maybe you've noticed when you're watching the video, you'll see that I also have a lot of bisque items. So my studio is a studio where I teach classes during the week. I teach 6 classes during the week to adults and kids. And then on Saturdays, I'm open for people who want to come in, and they can either learn to throw on the wheel. You can see I have wheels back here, but they can also paint items that are back here on the shelves. At this time, everything is shut down. We were offering pottery kits just to help people have something to do, that we would sit outside the door. They could pick them up, take them home, and work on it. Though firing is a bit of an issue. I'm not quite sure if anyone out there has figured out a way to make that work. So people are just holding on to those items now. Someone was drilling or admiring this. So let me show you something else underneath, right? I just got these like L brackets that are holding it in place under here. And then these mini banding wheels are just like bolted down. A hole was drilled and they were placed here. I find that sometimes it needs to be tightened up. So it'd be great for magnets or any kind of large piece that you might, lots of pieces that you want to do all in one go. So sometimes someone said, do you make your own tile or do you purchase bisque? It depends. If I'm doing a backsplash for someone and they want to be able to, minimize the cost, then yes, I use commercial tile. The white glaze actually matches it. There's a dowel tile that's white, so they can just go side by side. And I also have done handmade tiles, tile mural projects as well in Bloomington and Aberdeen, Scotland. Thank you for watching the presentation. And if you have any other questions, or if you want to see the other video, you can always send me a message, privately, or respond to this feed. I know that there's a slower time, and I like to say hello to all my friends from the Pottery House studio and students, and miss you, and I appreciate those of you that watched, and I wish you happy pottery making, and I'd love to see pictures of your work too, what you're all doing as well. Thanks again for this wonderful opportunity, Stacy, for organizing this community of potters. I know a lot of people really appreciate being able to see this. I wish I could see the people that see me. That would be really great to see you all. Would you like for me to also post this one as well, or the other video might be more appropriate? If you want to, you can just delete whichever one isn't there. Hillary, I am on Pete Ellis. Yes, Pete Ellis Drive in Bloomington, Indiana. That's where I am. And Nadine, someone asked, I answered that question. With the bisque tile, you can, sometimes I buy bisques and sometimes I make it depending on what a customer prefers. Lately, I haven't been doing hardly any of my own work because I've been teaching a lot here in the studio, teaching mainly clay classes, and So, but now all of a sudden I have time to work on orders that I've fallen behind on and make my own work. And it's been kind of nice being able to have a place that I can go to with so many happy, memories and experiences. And oh, thank you, everyone. It's so cool that people from all over can see. I did a practice one on my Susanna Italiana Pottery Facebook page yesterday, and it was like the internet went down, but it was cool too because I saw so many people from that I haven't heard from for a while. Also, friends in Italy that I trained with were there, and that was really neat to reconnect as well. I think the live stream is ideal in that way, in that you have a better connection with everyone. If you watch the other video that I posted, so I started making that video this morning, like at 9:30, and it took a lot longer than I thought. And then I just handed it over to my 18-year-old son, and I said, can you please splice it together and make me look like I kind of know what I'm doing? So I didn't even have a chance to watch it because it's almost an hour long, and I got done around 11:30. Time management, whatever. So you'll see there'll be a moment where I have my apron on, and then I don't have my apron on, and yeah. You feel my pain, Tara. I'm not sure which pain that was. Maybe being at home. But anyways, thank you. I'm just going to assume that all the questions are answered, and if not, then I will answer them later. And I wish you all the best, and to keep in touch. Take care. Oh, internet. Yeah, the internet has not been my friend lately. Thank you, Don. Thanks for watching, and thank you, Laura, too. And I will post them all. And Tomoko, it's so nice to hear from you. All the people that come through, they just do such beautiful work. I would show it if I had it all here. Thank you, Sandy and Joellen, and it's if anyone ever does a live stream, it's very cool because you can see. Oh, thanks, Sue. Check this out. Do you remember this mug? Sue studied in Faenza too. Please take care, everyone. Thanks. Now I just have to figure out how to turn this off. Finish.